Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm KROOF and I've been playing a little bit of Lost Ark now, so I thought this is the perfect moment to make a video about my first impressions as a veteran MMO player and taking a step into this rather different MMO with a top-down view and action-based combat. So let's go into multiple categories to further talk about the game of Lost Ark. First and foremost, character creation. For character creation, I would say it's pretty good for 2022. Nothing to the degree of Black Desert, but truly a fun experience with a lot of diverse character creation options and settings. The makeup is also a key point I want to note, because the makeup is perfectly fine on its own, but the reality of being able to use both makeup and choose from a variety of face paint options really heightens the experience of character customization. I have made so many different variations of customization with face paints and makeups, and you can rotate the angle, you can increase the width and the height. It's really a solid experience in the decorative department. But other than that, you have your faces, you have your eyes and your chin sliders, your different hairs, hair colors. I do like that we can choose either single tone or two-tone hairstyles. It's a nice touch. After the character creation process, we swiftly move on into the first moments of Lost Ark. The backstory of the character is very welcomed, but the story is one that, because it sounds so epic, I feel it would be better if it was actually playable in-game. And I believe I had caught wind that these original lore backstories were playable at some point, but they got rid of them in favor of a more streamlined experience. While it is epic and we don't get to play it, it is a nice way to introduce the world and ground the character. Nevertheless, the moment-to-moment gameplay of testing your class in the arena is a lovely treat to further inform the player as to what they want to choose for their specialized class. The optional prologue that you can go through of the game is also one of the best prologues I have played in a hot minute. The prologue actually introduces you to some of the characters with a little bit of variety to their characteristics. You get to learn how to interact with the world by pressing G multiple times. It does have a nice sense of just grounding yourself in the world of Lost Ark. It introduces you to a cutscene where we get a little bit of that cinematography and that more narrative-based storytelling, and then as you continue, you fight more and more waves of enemies. The waves and waves of enemies are one of my favorite encounters in Lost Ark, and thankfully it's pretty much the entire moment-to-moment gameplay for the first couple hours, you fighting multiple adds at a time, but with this prologue, it felt very epic. It felt very captivating. And then as you go along the story of the prologue, you get to the final boss fight. Now, I've played multiple MMOs where they have a very cinematic introduction. I've always wondered how you would one-up that situation. Lost Ark, I think, has one of the best introductory boss fights in an MMO today. It is a boss fight where it's not necessarily super difficult or super challenging, but it also isn't super easy to the point where it's a cakewalk. It gives you perhaps a false sense or an actual sense of needing to stay on your toes and needing to dodge and pay attention to telegraphs. And also it introduces you into their, as I would call it from a Guild Wars 2 perspective, it introduces you right off the bat to the break bar mechanic, showing that you have to utilize crowd control abilities to break this bar, which will then stagger the boss for a short time. These are key gameplay moments that need to be taught early on, so players have a grounded experience of what to expect going further into the game and hopefully towards endgame. But it was a really awesome experience. I had a lovely time. It was fun, and it was quite cinematic with the big spider boss. So those are the first moments. Now let's get a little bit more into the story. The story is perfectly middle of the road during the first hour of the game. There's a great through line of demons and the necessity to find the Lost Ark, to combat them, and hopefully save Arcasia. While this is a tried and true storyline that isn't trying to be overly niche in the MMO market, not every storyline needs to be innovative or have such wild ideas that it's like, oh, we've never seen that before. It's grounded a bit more in the realm of the fantasy MMO. It doesn't mean that the characters themselves won't be interesting, captivating, or hold your attention. However, the one problem for the first hour is that it hasn't really hooked me like other narratives I've experienced in MMOs. Granted, the storytelling mechanisms can be quite nice at times where it slots you into a cutscene, but the writing of the characters hasn't made me want to go on this journey. I am rather interested in finding the Lost Ark, and while it has a sense of what it is isn't that captivating at the moment. Hopefully the story progresses in a manner that puts more characters front and center and adds layers of complexity to them, which will make me want to take this journey with them. And I'm hearing a little bit of good things about the later story, so that is definitely hopeful. Next, we have gameplay. Girl, go off. Lost Ark, you did that. Combat in this game has to be some of the most fun, enjoyable, action-based, yet strategic combat I've experienced in a long time. Now, this is a top-down point and click, and you can't really cast spells or abilities while on the move. You have to really position yourself in strategic ways, and then while you're there, get as many combos as you can to maximize your damage and your lethality. The bosses and enemies in this game have nice telegraphs for you to be aware of, though I will say the telegraphs are rather inconsistent between boss fights. Some bosses have red telegraphs that are a little bit difficult to see. Some bosses have blue telegraphs. Maybe there is something that I'm missing where the color of the telegraph teaches you something or means something in terms of its effect. However, it is a little bit confusing at this current moment where I see multiple different colors for various bosses. A little bit of an inconsistency, a little bit of a subtle note, but that's not to me say that it's bad in any way. I'd rather have any telegraph than no telegraph to really heighten the visual information on the screen. In addition to the gameplay of the moment-to-moment fighting, we have open world events and quests. This was rather unexpected to see in Lost Ark. I wasn't aware that there were open world events to complete, which then help you in your questing, but I came across it and it was quite a bit of fun. Touching a little bit on the questing of Lost Ark, I have to say, questing in this game is rather fluid. It is really well paired with the main story quest when it comes to side quests. Oftentimes, you will go do your main quest, and then there will be a bunch of side quests in the area that go directly to the same location. And it has a really nice sense of where your character is going, to the point where you're not going to feel like you have to go back to 5 different zones, but the main storyline is taking you in another direction. As long as you're staying up to date on the side quests, it seems like so far, everything will be kind of connected, leading you towards the same route. While this is fluid, it does create a sense of strict linearity in an MMO. I come from MMOs that give you a lot of freedom of choice with where you level, what you do, how you level, and so I've really grown accustomed to that. And sometimes when you grow accustomed to something and you try something different, it feels nice. However, in this instance, because I'm such an alcoholic, I am slightly worried that I won't have an enjoyable leveling experience once I get my 3rd, 4th, 5th character. Now, I'm not aware of any other ways to level your characters other than doing the main story quest and doing side quests. However, there might be some ways. I know some games have it to where you can PvP to level, but for Lost Ark, it doesn't seem like that's the case, or it hasn't really been explicitly explained to me. So that might be a little bit of a bummer in my book. Now let's talk about dungeons. I've only played through, I think, 1 dungeon and 1 solo hidden dungeon, but Lost Ark really shines in group scenarios with PvE. Now, I'm a really big fan of PvE and somewhat PvP. I can speak more so for the dungeons because I have played it, and I have to say, I really enjoy that it gives both a normal and hard mode setting. Many dungeons and games don't really do that right off the bat from my experience in MMOs. I liked having the option of tackling a slightly more difficult experience than maybe just doing normal. Granted, it was the first dungeon, so it wasn't really that difficult, but I hope to see the level of difficulty rise and rise as you continue your adventures in Arcadia. And finally, let me touch a little bit on music. Lost Ark soundtrack is a beautiful accompaniment to the rigorous and fiery nature of the rest of the game. On the whole, the music is great at setting and keeping the tone to the zone that you're in the boss fight or the instance the player is currently doing. While I haven't heard any statement pieces that really have me desperately searching on YouTube, like, what is this? I am keeping an open ear to hopefully catch some more beautiful, show-stopping, and iconic musical tracks. Overall, I think it's a solid soundtrack that I could probably see myself popping on in the background every once in a while. And those were my first impressions of Lost Ark in 2020. Gotta say, huge fan, right off the bat. The gameplay itself is enough of a reason to at least try Lost Ark. I am very much a narrative and lore individual. However, I'm playing a video game. And if the gameplay of the game is not gaming, I'm not gonna play the game. So I'm very happy to announce that I am really enjoying it. Coming from a player who doesn't have a lot of experience with top-down MMOs or top-down games, I found the transition to be very easy. If you would like to play Lost Ark, it's currently in Head Start, so if you can pre-order one of the packages, I would recommend doing it if you have any interest in the game. But if you want to wait a couple more days, of course, Lost Ark is going free to play February 11th, so I'd love to see you in Arcasia. I'm on currently NA East. I'm on Una. Come join me. Ooh woo. And thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked the video, subscribe, like, comment, and share. If you'd like to support the channel a little bit more, I have a Patreon where you get early access to videos, special content, and all of the sorts. Thank you everyone so much for coming, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Take care, everyone. Mwah.